Hi friends, this reflection is for the 13th Sunday of Ordinary Time. So friends, as we look here is that Jesus begins his journey to Jerusalem as we read the Gospel of Luke. But before that, we look at the first book of Kings. And we see a couple themes here that really stands out. I should rather say three themes. The first is the theme of discipleship. In the discipleship theme, we see that Jesus has people that want to come up and say, well, I want to follow you, but I want to do this first. Jesus says, drop everything. It's, as we were reminded in another gospel, particularly I'd say Matthew, is that you must give up everything and follow Jesus. And honestly, in this society today, we always make excuses to think that, oh yeah, I'm Catholic, yet I don't do this or do that. That's not how it works. Friends, if you are Catholic, you must prove it. You must give up everything. You must give up all of your possessions. Give up all of your possessions and follow Jesus. Not an easy thing to do, but guess what? It's worth it in the end. So don't stop making excuses and start following Jesus. He doesn't like excuses among his disciples. So whatever it is holding you back, let it go. The second theme we see here is the theme of courage. And as we kind of see here also with playing around with the theme of discipleship, is that we see that we live in a society where there's so much fear around us. People are scared. They're scared that, oh, they're not going to be included, they're going to lose their popularity or whatever the case is. Well, you know what? Jesus, he can relate to you because first off, he didn't care about popularity at all. He just went about preaching the gospel. And there may have been times where people were going to like kill him and want to try to rough him up or whatever. But the thing we have to understand is that Jesus kept the faith and he kept going. He wasn't afraid. The Bible, 365 times, we hear around those lines, don't be afraid. Be not afraid. Have courage. Whatever around those lines. You too. You can be courageous. It takes a courageous faith to change a world filled with cowardice. You're not a coward. Rather, you're called to be a Christian soldier. So onward, Christian soldier. Finally, we see here as we take a look at St. Paul's letter to the Galatians, he reminds us that we are called to freedom, but do not use freedom as an opportunity for flesh. Serve one another. You shall love the neighbor as yourself. There it is. We're free to love. Now, I'm not saying this whole thing free to love, misuse the gift of sex, which that's for marriage, by the way. But I think it's also fitting that these readings come to us, in the aftermath of the reversal of the Roe v. Wade Casey versus Planned Parenthood Supreme Court decision. But in the half a century since the passing of Roe v. Wade, we have seen that many members of the clergy, particularly the Catholic priests and bishops, have been quiet. They have been silenced from the pulpit. Sure, they can give that whole God is love homily, yet they don't use that platform in 8 to 10 minutes to preach about the truth of the church teachings, such as the sanctity of human life, marriage, the Eucharist. Why is birth control wrong? Why is same-sex marriage wrong? Why is abortion an abomination to human society? It's easy that we can judge people for the mistakes they make, but do you think Jesus would have judged people? He never cast a stone. Rather, he asked those without sin to cast a stone, and those people backed away. You can too. It's one thing that you want to judge people for the mistake they make, but did you take a good look at yourself before you cast that judgment? I didn't think so. In this society, it can be a challenge to love people for who they are, not what they are. As we Of course, typically when we get back to ordinary time after the Easter celebrations, we either in the midst of Pride Month or we're about to conclude it. And of course, homosexuality is a grave sin of the flesh, and that must be rebuked. We must be called to repent of it and call it out. So today, my friends, let us take that first step to be what we are called to be, and that is faithful witnesses to Christ. Friends, especially the pro-lifers, you're called to love. You're called to be that faithful witness. You are called to shower love to the woman who needs help in their hour of great need, who courageously chose life despite all the pressure from family, from society. Are you ready to take that first step to lend a helping hand? Whether it's to the unborn child, the mom who had a child out of wedlock, the homeless, victims of gun violence, victims of war, the refugee who fled a country where Christianity is illegal. Are you ready to take that first step to be that faithful witness? Today is that day. Love your neighbor as yourself, my friends. Be courageous. Do not be afraid to follow Jesus. Do not be afraid to open wide these doors here to Christ. Don't be afraid to tell people that you are a faithful witness to Christ. God bless.